please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. Today is February 4th, 2016. It's the bi-monthly meeting of the Environmental Conservation Board. We have an agenda tonight that we're going to follow. There's John, Ed, Nick, Mark Bukowski, and myself are in attendance. And we'll start with the first item. The first item is Lake Plaza Shopping Center. It's for a proposed Stop and Shop. It's 983 to 1005 Route 6, tax map 65.10-.1-45. Planning Board referral, amended site plan. The only thing I'm going to ask you is if you could, for the four of you that are here, let's use the podium, okay? And if there are things that we have questions on to address, we'll try and come on. But if you come up to speak, please state your name and who you are representing. Okay?
Good evening. My name is Geraldine Tortorella. I'm a partner in the law firm of Hockerman, Tortorella, and Wechstein. Our office is in White Plains, and we are representing the applicant, Lake Plaza Shopping Center, Lake Plaza Associates LLC, who's the applicant on this project, or the ground lessee of the Lake Plaza Shopping Center. Before we get into our presentation, I just want to make sure that the plans are positioned the way you want them positioned for both the
let me just take a
video
quick
and for
look.
the
You
board.
brought two of the same?
We do. We have two of the same right here.
You should be fine.
Great.
You should be fine.
Very good.
I could, they're fine.
Okay.
He'll tell us if it's not.
Very good. We have never had the privilege of being in this room on this application. We were always tucked in the back, so we know how to present them in the back and how to place them in the back. I just want to make sure we're doing it correctly this evening.
Not a problem.
I brought the rest of the audience with me this evening. We have with us Erica Reeves and John Canning from VHB. John is on the civil engineering and traffic engineering side, and Erica is the environmental consultant working on the project. And she was instrumental in putting together the submission that you have before you this evening that we're going to talk about. And then we have Pablo Medeiros, who's here from Heidenberg Properties on behalf of Lake Plaza Associates. So that's who we've brought with us this evening. This project involves the renovation of the Lake Plaza Shopping Center. The plan is to demolish the existing supermarket and construct a larger supermarket footprint and one additional tenant space. The new supermarket would be occupied by Stop and Shop, which I'm sure you've read about the project in the media and heard about it through Town Hall. But we're also proposing a number of other improvements to the shopping center to really upgrade the shopping center. We were very excited about it. We have a long-term plan for the shopping center. We have a program to try to improve not just the functionality of the center, but the appearance of the center and the pleasure that people will experience when they're shopping in the shopping center, all for the purpose of promoting the business and promoting the community. So some of those improvements there's a variety of different types of improvements. It's really a large undertaking by us, but the aspect that involves your board is really very small. And that's what we want to talk about this evening. And we're happy to answer any questions you have, but we really want to focus on those matters that are within the jurisdiction of the board and are of the concern of the board. We are here after having been at the planning board in 2 meetings. We were there for two instances. We've done a lot talking with them about the redevelopment of the site and the things that are of concern and interest to the planning board. At the last meeting in January, they referred us to your board for our wetland permit application, and they also referred us to the Zoning Board of Appeals because we have to deal with some variances in connection with the redevelopment of the site. So that's what brings us here this evening. I'd like to be able to get right into the redevelopment project and then be able to talk about the environmental issues and, again, answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry. Good evening. For the record, John Canning with VHB. Does this thing move at all? A little bit, so I might be able to point. So as Jerry mentioned, it's an expansion of the existing shopping centre. The existing centre is 143,000 square feet. It's anchored by Kmart and Key Food. The expansion is 24,000 square feet plus or minus. It will occur entirely to the north and east of the existing Key Food store. And my colleague Erica will describe the environmental impacts, and we've taken great pains to ensure that we'll have minimal or no impacts on the wetlands that are uphill of the shopping centre. The improvements that the project brings to the centre include fixing some waviness in the profile of the drive aisle that was brought to our attention, eliminating the truck access to Baldwin Lane, eliminating driving across the drive aisles. We're proposing to provide end caps to the parking aisles, landscaped end caps on both sides, so that, and also one down the middle, so that you won't be able to just decide you want to make a beeline for the exit. So that will also reduce the impervious surface, and it'll add some nice landscaping features. We're repaving most of the parking lot, and there will be all new energy efficient LED lighting. There will be new and improved drainage, both treatment and detention, effectively for the north half of the property, which is where the work is taking place. And most of the building, from here down, Kmart is kind of is Kmart's business, but from here down, the building will get a facade makeover. So we believe that, you know, when we're done and we've been through all the boards, we'll have an improved, safer, more attractive, and more successful property. And I guess with that, Eric, if you want to describe.
You're, just a quick question. You're leaving the Kmart building and demolishing the entire white roof area?
No, we're demolishing, I would say, this portion here,
That's the
Right up
Key
next
Food.
to CVS.
right next to CVS.
Yeah.
I think we're going to, CVS is going to go away, right, Pablo? So CVS is going to go away, and we're going to expand out the back and expand out the side into the parking lot. And we're going to take this parking and put it over here, and we're going to put employee parking in the existing paved area in the back.
So in other words, CVS is going to be part of the new Stop and Shop, that area. Key Food, there's a stationary store next to CVS, right? That still stays?
Yeah.
And then the facade on that stationary store and everything to the south of that, to your right, if you're looking at it?
Everything on the white roof, the
Stay
goal
alone.
is to
Upgrade.
upgrade it and
Okay.
make it, I guess, attractive and consistent and.
And the parking that you're proposing, the additional parking is behind the car wash?
No, it's behind the building.
So we'll.
Rear of the
we're putting
building.
Some additional parking here, and then there's an area behind the building that we're going to stripe for employee parking. And the goal is to maintain the parking ratio. Right now, we have a parking ratio, I believe, of 4.2 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet. So we're just trying to hold that parking ratio.
And the asphalt pavement that's going to be redone in that parking lot is everything except in front of Kmart, you said, or?
It's basically, I would say, from here, from the bend in the building
Okay.
to the north. And
That's
then we're-
getting repaved.
And then
the entire property will be resurfaced, but from this part north will be, we're going to take the pavement out and put new pavement in.
you're going to mill it out,
Regrading,
regrade,
yeah.
and the rest of it will just be repaved,
It'll be
right,
repaved.
overlaid,
Yeah, resurfaced.
milled and overlaid, okay.
So hopefully, I mean, when it's done, it'll all look the same, because, you know, when you mill and overlay next to a full-depth reconstruction, and you're done, it all looks the same. So it's not going to, you're not going to drive in and say, what's going on? Is this some sort of town border?
Yeah,
No?
good.
Be the first time.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John. Erica Reeves, VHB as well, environmental scientist. So I was out on the site, and I'm the one that delineated the wetlands and streams. For reference, all these features delineated early December of 2014. Just going to walk you through existing conditions, and then we can talk about the buffer impacts a little bit. We'll start with Wetland 1 and Wetland 1A at the northeast corner of the property. There is an ephemeral channel labeled as S1, and that begins on the side slope. It's basically just a trench and a side slope collecting runoff that leads down into where it picks up disperses into the wetland and picks up wetland indicators. So that's the start of wetland 1, right about here. And that wetland 1 is very much of a linear, almost like a trench feature. There's a berm on this side, the west side of the wetland, kind of trapping water there and diverting it down towards where S2, the stream 2 is. Stream 2 actually begins at Cortlandt, under Cortlandt Road. There's a culvert here in yellow. Right here. And it stems from the wetland on the other side off property. So we found that as a source of stream 2. There's stream 2 stems from actually 2 culverts. There's another stormwater culvert coming underneath Baldwin Lane. There's a little yellow triangle here. We have that classified as an intermittent stream according to Cowardin standards, and it also meets your code 89 standards, so for intermittent water course. It flows into a braided sort of splits channel near wetland 1, and wetland 1 flows right into stream 2. All of that is draining towards the northwest and enters a culvert system here. Based on the information available, we believe that that ultimately goes through some sort of culvert and drainage system through the site, outletting right here in S3. Through that system, it's also picking up a few other stormwater outlets. It becomes much more significant in size. This is a larger stream, and part of the application included stream data forms and photos of each of these streams. So ultimately, this stream S2 is the same stream as S3. They're just labeled different for purposes of flagging. S3 was determined to be perennial because it's getting more hydrology from this large wetland system to the south. As far as labeling goes, again, wetland 1 to the north, wetland 1A, I skipped over briefly. That's just a small, very fringing wetland along that narrow stream along the road. So it's just fringing sort of banks. That's kind of the floodplain of this narrow intermittent stream. Down here, wetland 2, this is just the order they were flagged. This is actually part of a DEC wetland. It's a state mapped wetland, LC-332, and that's a class 2 DEC wetland. Skipping back ahead so we don't miss wetland 3. Wetland 3, I just grabbed the edge of so we could find the buffer, the 100-foot buffer. That is a large depression kind of trapped there by the surrounding development. It looks like it may have been an old stormwater system from what I could tell, but that's my best estimate. But based on what's there now, it's developed hydrophytic vegetation, it's got hydric soils, and of course hydrology from the standing water. So we picked up some wetland flags on it. We couldn't really find any.
Who labeled the wetlands? You?
Yes.
Did you have our wetlands inspector with you?
No.
Okay, but you're gonna have to do that,
Yep.
so we'll set that up.
Yep. And as I understand, that typically occurs after the permit application
Yeah, well.
for inspection purposes.
During the process.
During the process. Sorry, I just,
So I'm happy to go out and thank you. I'm happy to go out with him, or if he wants to inspect it himself, he's welcome to. The flags should still be visible. Granted, some of them are in Phragmites stands, so if you can't find them, we're happy to come out with our GPS unit and help with that. Let's see here. So we talked about wetland 1, wetland 1A, wetland 3, wetland 2, again, the DEC wetland. It's down at the bottom of the bank. And just getting into what we're proposing, there is not going to be any direct impact to any watercourse or wetlands on this project. The only impacts we're talking about are buffers within the 100-foot buffer.
correct.
So, the closest impacts we have really are in that northeast quadrant. So this is rotated from that previous map. North is on this end. So here's wetland 1 coming down. This is stream 1. And again, stream 2 going into a culvert system here. This red line represents the 100-foot buffer of all of those features taken from the closest side. So what's there existing now? We have some parking areas. There's a corner here within the 100-foot buffer already. what we're proposing to do is remove, we'll have some more parking. Is this next one the? Let me flip them back and forth between these a little bit. What we're proposing is to round out this drive aisle, and we've narrowed it as much as we can by putting in a retaining wall. And there will be that will result in 500 square feet of impervious in that area. But what we're proposing is a net zero increase in impervious area by removing this existing 500 square feet of parking, taking out that corner. So we're still keeping a substantial buffer here from the wetlands. There is the uplands, because of that trench and berm and the system coming down that linear area on the hill, it's actually uphill from the shopping area. Nothing's gonna flow up this way towards the wetland. If anything, things would be moving or coming down this way. So that essentially is this corner. Down near wetland 3, we're again not proposing any additional impervious within the buffer. It's just mill and overlay and improvements to the drive aisles. There will be some disturbance in ground with these end caps, or so the islands that will be put in for landscape purposes and again, safety concerns. And then finally, down near wetland 2 at the southern edge, there will be similar, just repaving and again, the landscape islands put in. So those are no increase to impervious. If anything, we're decreasing it, and no direct impacts to any of the wetlands.
So the square footage of the parking area is still the same, square
change.
footage on the space, same space that's out there
it's-
existing?
Actually, it's gonna be less because of now they have the planters.
Right, you're gonna have the islands in there. The storm catch basins, the structures that are located right now in that parking lot, are they draining into the wetland number 3 right now? The existing, they're going into 2 inside the parking lot?
Erica, I think I can take that.
Okay.
It's actually on the next sheet.
Do they show silt fence or any sort of?
Today, there, on the property, there is a water treatment facility here and down here that was installed in relation to an off-site property, so it captures water from a lot of places, including, I believe,
The runoff from
wetland
the
1.
hill.
It goes down through the filtration system, and then I believe it discharges into wetland 3. So the stormwater that's on the site now currently goes through that system. But what we're proposing is to put in additional facilities to capture and treat the stormwater from this portion of the site before it even gets to it. So we're doing treatment and detention.
You're changing the drainage, you're adding additional drainage to the site
Right.
for your new,
In the back here and on the side here.
what are you doing to treat that for the MS4 as well as the, just drainage? Because, I mean, even though you're not working in the wetlands, you're still working within the buffer, the 100-foot buffer. So we kind of have to, and it's a give and a take. Even though we're in the buffer, we're doing work in the buffer, but we got to relate back.
Right.
So what I kind of need from you is, and you said 500 square feet equals 500 square feet. I don't have an issue with that. That math works to me.
Yep.
But there's other areas here where you're going to be disturbing. What's the total, besides taking the building down and installing a new building, what is the total area inside the buffer of disturbance?
It should be, well, if you have that calculation? Okay.
So I have, I don't have all 3 added up, but for wetland 1, I have 6,690 square feet of disturbance within the buffer. And again, that's to replace existing parking area, proposed driveway, leading to the back of the proposed building.
Within the buffer. So
Yep.
6,690 square feet.
Yep,
And
That's just one.
That's
yeah.
just one.
yep.
W2?
W2 is 22,145. And again, that's the landscape islands and the resurfacing of the parking lot. So that's
Wait a
this
minute,
whole
what-
area here.
That's all 22,000 square feet.
Yep.
Wow. And wetland 3?
Wetland 3 is 7,392. And again, this is this area right here.
And that's just repaving the existing areas.
That's
Okay.
correct.
One of the other things you just have to look for in the calculations is you're gonna be, there's no drainage that's gonna go into those areas, just repaving.
Correct. We're not adding any additional drainages going into either of those systems.
What about up in W1?
Over here, any drainage that's in this site is coming through a treatment system here before outlets into the
Existing
pre-existing.
treatment system?
I
Or are you
believe
putting a new one
improved,
in?
right?
It's a new treatment system. We've got a couple of sand filters here, a couple of sand filters here, and we've got, I think, a Cultec unit up here, somewhere up here. So
Okay,
that's
could-
all new.
Could you just give us some information regarding the Cultec units, what your, the treatment systems that you're putting in? Just give us some, and the other question I have is, you already have DEC approval to work adjacent to their wetlands?
So that's in progress. We had a jurisdictional determination with them in October of last year. And initially, we were only going to be in the buffer of this one wetland. Due to planning board changes and the request to improve the whole parking lot, we're now in 2 more, including DEC's wetland. So initially, DEC determined this is non-jurisdictional. Wetland 3 in the middle was non-jurisdictional. They weren't concerned at all, and they
W2.
wrote off on it. I just reached out to them in the last couple weeks, and they just confirmed, yeah, we're gonna need an Article 24 freshwater wetlands permit, just for the disturbance in wetland 2. And they told us that the repavement would have been just maintenance, they wouldn't need a permit,
Right.
but because we're putting in those end caps in the landscape, and we're gonna be digging that pavement up in
Within
those
the 100
areas,
foot?
within the 100 foot, we need that sign off.
Okay,
So we'll be applying to DEC in the next couple weeks.
okay, well, we won't be able to issue you a permit for this work until I see that DEC permit.
Okay.
All right, just to let you know.
We can't get a permit conditioned on obtaining the DEC permit?
Well, we could go through the process, and then I just won't give you the, we will not grant the permit. We can vote on to give you the permit, but you won't physically get the permit until you give me the DEC. Right. Okay.
I just want to clarify too, you can spare it. I just want to clarify that the improvements at the southern end of the site, the addition of the end caps and the islands and some of the additional grading that just clean out some of the waviness was really at the insistence, at the request, if not insistence, of the planning board. I mean, they were very interested in having us do something down at that end of the site. And we were willing to do it as long as we could make it work and we could deal with, number of parking spaces and try to keep a certain ratio and make the whole site work together and get these permits. So that is driven largely by the planning board's desire to have a wholesale improvement and upgrade of, particularly of the parking lot.
Jerry, I'll just add to that. The goal of the end cap islands, as I mentioned, is to try and get people to use the drive aisles. And the 3 that are down here in wetlands 2, we were kind of being consistent and moving along, and I think they'll be helpful and they'll make it look prettier. But being that they're at the very end of the parking lot, they're not nearly as critical as the ones further down. So if this board feels that, it's very important not to disturb these 3 areas in wetlands 2, we could go back to the planning board and say, should we reconsider it? So that's just something.
My only concern is the amount of area that you're gonna disturb. Let's just start behind the Stop and Shop. Not to, just between the red and the blue line there.
Yeah, this area here?
Yeah, that area there, you're gonna, obviously, I know water does not flow uphill, but obviously, at a minimum, we're gonna look for some silt fencing to be
Oh,
installed
absolutely.
around, and I know you've submitted a SWIP.
Absolutely, yes.
And one of our other members have reviewed it, and it's gonna have to just go to the town engineer for final blessing.
Sure.
But, so obviously silt fence, all the required safety measures installed while we're doing the work. We're gonna need, at a minimum, a fueling plan and a fueling staging area. And that's gonna be designated, because I don't think in taking us down with couple of guys and some hammers. You know, you're gonna have a full swing and some heavy equipment on there.
Yep.
So at a minimum, we'll need a fueling plan with a fueling staging area, a spill kit, you know,
A what?
a spill
A
kit,
spill kit, sorry.
spill kit. It must be right.
Ears
okay.
aren't working.
That's
so,
okay. And that, and you would know, it's consists of
Sure.
oil-absorbent diapers,
yep.
booms, everything else. And then the area that you're gonna fuel, because obviously you're gonna probably have a fueling company come in and fuel your equipment, designated area for
Yep.
fueling, as well as an event, you have a broken hose or something, you can clean that up. And, you know, we're gonna have to protect all the existing drains while you're doing the work with silt bags or, and some sort of a boom around those to prevent anything from leaching into the existing catch basins. So, you know, I have not gone through, this is the first time I'm seeing your plans. I don't know if they've all been, if those items have been addressed in your plans. I don't think it's been addressed in the SWIP, but typically we require a drawing showing, detail showing what you're planning to do, where it's gonna be done. You know, typical silt fence detail, how you're gonna protect the catch basins from both silt and, you know,
Yep,
fuel oils
yep,
and sediment. You've shown the 100-foot buffer, the DEC permits in progress, the fueling plan, silt fence. We're gonna have to set up a meeting. You, please call the office. I guess once you submitted a flagging, you put the flags on the drawings?
Yes. So in addition to this map, sorry, there's 3 individual sheets that are blown up enough that you can actually see each of these flags. Some of these are overlaid on top of them at this scale. This is an index sheet. But each one of these in the application details every flag that was hung. So streams were hung with blue ribbon flagging, and all wetlands were demarcated with the pink and black lettering wetland delineation.
We're gonna have to have you set up a meeting, call the office, speak to Rose, and see if you could set up a meeting with our wetlands inspector, Dave Klotzel. Behind the existing Key Food, the new building that you're putting, we're not taking any trees down, or we're taking trees down behind the building?
So generally, this whole area in the back is scrub shrub through here. And
We're
there's
not
a,
talking any significant trees, we're talking
there,
shrubs.
one second, so there's a few trees right here. And I know you're getting towards bats, right?
What?
Are you
No,
Just wants to understand the change in the.
in the
yeah,
land use? Okay. So, let's see here. Wrong plan. With this moving out just a little bit, the only change that would be right here where there's a small strip of trees directly adjacent to that drive aisle.
Is that all scrub?
I'm sorry?
Is that all scrub?
It's primarily scrub shrub. There's like maybe 5 mature trees there that are, I'd estimate 12 dBH, something like that, off the top of my head.
Because it's planning board, we don't need to go with a tree permit, do we? It's not a mass cutting.
How many trees is it?
Yeah, can you estimate that? The trees?
Yeah, I can get you more
Can you give us
information.
a, can you give
Major
us an
caliber we're
inventory?
looking for.
So we're looking at this area right here. You can almost see,
See them.
you can see the tree outlines. So I can count at least 3 there, 4, 5, maybe 6,
Yeah.
you know, definitely under 10.
And I'm gonna have to check, because I think you're under the limit. I just don't know if the,
Doesn't look like, well,
off the top of my head.
not quite 10, but close to it.
6 or less, right?
There is, the planning board was eager to make sure that we maintained as much of that buffer as possible because of the residences to the rear of the property, as well as the residences along Baldwin Lane. So we have worked very carefully to preserve, as much as we can, the existing dense vegetation, you know, the mature trees that you see along Baldwin Lane and that swoop around the back of the property. But we can get you a number, and we can confirm that.
Yeah, because I just, what I don't want to have happen is we cut them down and I should have given you a permit. And then now instead of asking for permission, we're asking for forgiveness and we just don't want to get into that situation.
We don't either.
Do they have to be removed? Are you extending the concrete?
Yes, oh,
You are.
yes, yes.
By about how much from where it exists now?
It's not the concrete area, I think it's the building itself
No,
that's being.
no, it's the building is getting bigger.
Okay, all right.
We can look at
And
the
their impact.
scale. Do you know the depth that we're going, extending the building? No. No. Interestingly,
Yeah, because trees are here.
right, we get closer
Here,
to
I
the
didn't know
property.
if you could go any further. Does it make sense
Interestingly,
to go out
It's about 65.
Looks like they're turning
it's
the
about
road.
65 feet,
Yeah.
going
It
further
becomes,
north?
you know, they're rounding this whole
Impervious
thing
surface
off.
is going north by about 65 feet.
Okay. So everything's being pushed out at its max by about 65 feet.
65
Extending
feet
the impervious
From the
surface.
existing pavement or the
Yes.
building?
Well, that measurement was from the existing pavement.
Okay. Was there any additional plantings after that, evergreens or anything select past that, you know, going up into that wetland area?
We do, we
buffering?
submitted a landscaping plan, and actually, Mr. Klotzy commented on it, so those comments are in the record of the planning board. I don't know whether you were copied on it or not, I assume that if you weren't, it'll eventually get to you. But he had made some comments about certain vegetation, types of trees and plantings that he'd like us to consider.
In that area?
So, yeah, in that area, we're looking to fill it in a little bit. I mean, you know, we have some limitations, given
They're going out.
what the area is and what the
So they
slope
still
is in
want
the
to be able to
area,
get
and
trucks
we
behind.
don't want to disturb that existing band of heavy vegetation. I mean, we've got a nice band of vegetation there, and we're trying to maintain that in that area. But we can give you, I'm sorry that I don't know exactly the distance by which the building is being pushed out. This is the footprint of the existing building,
Oh, okay.
and.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
So it's this distance.
Oh,
We could see that.
oh, I see.
24, and they're probably 19 feet on either side of the parking spaces, so it's 38, 24.
Yeah.
It's about a little bit over 40, 45, 46 feet.
What we'll do with going back to the trees, I'm sorry, based on the code, we have a couple of options. Just please give us the information based on what you have out there now, and then this way we can make an educated decision on, an informed decision on that.
Agreed, and we want to make sure that if we need the permit, we have requested for it
It's not
properly and have the
very
record.
difficult.
Right.
That's-
Yeah, it's all folded in, it's one of those i's to dot and t's to cross.
Okay.
So, you know, too, we have met with DEP, and we've been working with DEP as well, so that it's on
I
board.
need to give you a permit?
Of course,
Okay, so we also need the DEP permit.
yes, DEP, we will be getting a permit from DEP. But we have already started that process. We've met with the town engineer and staff and whatever, so we're trying to move all of that along.
The DEC's only interested.
DEC's only there, DEP's interested over there. See, the only, bless you, the only concern I have is in that 100-foot buffer in W1 is, behind the building, that's going uphill, so we're gonna take down the hill, or the area, the dirt behind the building,
Right.
Right
This section
there.
Right here.
and then we're gonna build a retaining wall up there?
That's correct.
We're building a retaining wall here to stay out, to minimize the work that we have to do in the buffer.
Okay, so
So
the
we
only,
have some
Okay, now I
grading
get a
here,
better
where we
picture.
just chase back to grade.
All right.
okay, and I'm sorry to do this. Just,
You want to use this?
Here, I have it up on this map here.
crotchety old guy.
This is the truck plan.
Within the 100, in your number of 6,600 square feet, is this area accounted for in the 6,600 square feet?
That is, I believe that is the
This is the
6,600 square
right?
feet.
6,690.
Okay.
Yes.
6,690, and then these, in your W3, W2, this is W2, you're accounting for the paving and these three dog bones to be as part of the disturbance.
Correct.
Okay. So now, we We have 6,600 square feet. We have whatever, I'm not taking into account, I mean, the 22,000 square feet for repaving in W2 is a maintenance, so that's a kind for kind. But what we do have to take into account are the 3 dog bones that we're digging. So with that being said, based on the 6690 and the 3 dog bones that we are installing, that number comes up to, what are they, 10 by 5?
Well, they're probably closer to 40 by 5, so 4 or 5,
So
200
200,
square
so
foot
it's
each.
600 square feet. So we're looking at around 7,500 square feet of disturbance. Would you, plus or minus? Right, the 6690 for W1.
Yep. You've also got another couple of hundred square feet for,
All right, so let's say, just for rounding, 8,000 square feet?
yep.
Okay. So if we're disturbing 8,000 square feet, you have to provide me something that you're going to give me. All right, we have to, and I don't mean it like that. If it's 8,000 square feet you're disturbing,
Kind of sounded like that.
no, I don't mean it like that. You give the, mitigate.
Yes,
That you're
yeah,
gonna
no, we get it.
mitigate. I just need to know what your mitigation plan is for that 8,000 square feet. Are you going to make all of those islands small,
Sort of rain garden things.
rain garden type things? Or are you gonna pick it up using your new Cultec system? I have to make the math work from what's been disturbed to how you're going to mitigate.
Yep.
So I need to see some sort of plan from you on how you're going to do that,
You got it. Yep.
okay?
Yep. We got the concept.
And then the other thing is, in the areas W1, W2, if you're putting any, you also have to take into account to your calculations, let's just say W1 is the 6690. Let's say now we're in W2, W3, we're running a trench down to tie piping in. So the area, can I borrow your red pointer? And don't, if I'm putting a trench in here,
Yeah.
and I'm trenching over here,
Yep.
that also
Counts
gets
as
accounted
disturbance.
into your disturbance.
Okay, gotcha.
But you have to look at it.
Yep.
You have to look at it. So then, whatever the number is, and, you guys do the math, A has to equal B in terms of mitigation. And that can be done through a rain garden, it could be done through your Cultec system, but the math for the Cultec has to work.
So let me ask you a question about that. If we wanted to get feedback or further explanation of that, are you amenable to us talking to Dave Klotze about it and working with him? I mean,
Yeah, Dave, when you meet Dave out there, our wetlands inspector, you can bring up these thoughts to him.
I mean, he knows how your board is thinking, he knows what you're looking for.
Right, we try to think the way he thinks, and he tries to think the way we think.
Got it, okay.
Doesn't necessarily work all the time, but it does.
Okay, and you don't mind if we consult with him
No,
about that? and
no,
try to
because
get to a meaningful solution?
Dave will do is he'll write us a report, and then what I would recommend to you is you follow up to the Rose, the town, in
Right.
an email saying you met him, and this is what your understanding is, so at least there's a record of what was done.
Good, because I would prefer to know that if we can reach an agreement on what makes sense, and he can be
Right.
supportive of it, that's
Sure.
much better than submitting it to
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
coming
It's not a
back,
guessing
finding out he
game.
doesn't like it, or had other thoughts that he thinks would work well.
Your wetland flagging, sorry to bounce around, but you're a certified wetland flagger?
Yes, I've taken
Delineation.
the 40-hour
Okay.
delineation course,
No problem. I just,
master's degree in ecology and environmental science.
because Dave goes out there and flags all the time, and we typically have a certified flagger, wetlands inspector to go out to flag, so you definitely qualify for that. So, all right, Does anybody else have anything they would like to bring up?
Just want to echo what Rob said about your details on protecting the storm catch basins that are out there in the wetlands, and your detail, which I'm not familiar with also. But on those storm catch basins, you know, the frame, the grate, it's a good idea to lift that grate up and put some filter fabric under that and set that back in to really protect anything that runs past the booms going around there. Yes, during construction, excuse me. And that's a best management practice. Where is the exact staging area of your debris? Like, where's your material that you're gonna be, when you're demoing
Are
this?
you gonna haul that out? Are you gonna
And your haul
demo
route.
and then haul, or are you gonna demo, stockpile, and then haul? We haven't fully worked that out yet. Okay, because if, sorry, John, to jump
That's
on your
that's
bandwagon
key.
here. Because if you're gonna stockpile on site, you're going to need to show us your stockpile area, how you're going to protect that stockpile area. And you're gonna have to obviously.
have it.
What, they do?
Yeah, there's a appendix in here.
I guess that was the first time I saw it. They have trees and stuff in it too.
Yeah, that's their planting schedule.
You plan on using the haul route for all the materials right to Route 6? Is that straight into that lot? Is that how it's going to really progress? All the trucks just in and out this sort of way?
The intention is to take truck traffic away from Baldwin Lane, not just during construction, but on a permanent basis. And in connection with that, we actually, you're probably familiar with that turnoff, that there's a little lane here, and there's an island that currently exists, and we understand from people in town that that is used by trucks, and that trucks will exit out to Baldwin Lane. We actually had an opening here. This is actually an older plan, because we've revised this plan, but this has been closed up, so not even
Right.
this driveway exists. So that prevents trucks from even being,
Sure.
feeling like it's an invitation to go in that direction.
Right.
So they will have to come out here, and once you're out here, you're going right to the traffic light. It's the logical place. And they can't even make the turn. They would not be able to make that turn.
The dark gray area for the paved area in front of the new Stop and Shop, is that a full depth build, or is that you're milling down 2 or 4 inches and just overlaying, or is it?
No, that's in front of, right. It actually, and it extends in this direction as well, because that's the area where you really have the lumpy,
Lot of,
wavy area. So our
uneven.
grading is going to extend into this area somewhat, but that's a full reconstruction of that parking
Silt
lot.
fence.
Yeah.
So you have silt fence detail, you have a stockpile.
We do.
Drawing C14, yeah.
But we'll make sure that, all that you have asked for is provided for, that we have the fueling plan and
Yeah, the
everything
only thing I
else.
think,
It's not already.
the only thing I think you owe us is the drainage, protection of the catch basins.
We'll take a
I
look at
think,
that.
I think we also need silt fencing on the drawings. Did you was that in one
Yeah,
of them
usually,
currently?
typically, we
Yes.
like to see,
There should be, in one of the SWIP drawings,
SWIP
one of the
drawings?
SWIP
Oh,
drawings.
Okay,
C07,
got it.
if you look
got
at
it?
that. Do we have
I'm-
that
I have it
mounted
up there.
here?
Let me just take-
Okay. I'm sorry, we did not bring that mounted.
what?
We did not bring that mounted.
Oh, that's okay.
Right, we can, are you seeing it there?
Yes.
And that's a detail, that's not just the details, that's the actual location.
They're gonna do the whole area.
Right. So this is our limit.
I don't see silt fencing.
Yeah, I don't see, so this is all just dotted.
What's the title of that?
This one is, yeah, erosion sediment control plan.
There's no
Sediment.
silt fence.
Not that I see, at least. It's usually delineated with a dashed line with a SF.
Yeah, it's not shown.
It's probably not shown, yeah. Because it's gonna have to be staged a little bit.
There's a white birch laying on the
We're
ground
still
there,
gonna have to get customers to and from Kmart.
spelled out, I guess.
It'll be sort of staged.
Well, you're gonna need, obviously, just for all intents and purposes, without
It's right here.
getting, with the telephone, with the microphone here, you know, since you have the DEC wetlands over here, you're gonna need to, you know,
Probably,
silt fence this.
Yep.
And then, for when you're working back here, silt fence this, and around basically around all three wetlands areas.
One, two,
You're asking us to show the details of the erosion
these are
control
real trees here.
I mean, I'm not sure that it's
Probably a
limited to
dozen.
silt
Yeah,
fence.
at least it does.
No, maybe, well, hay bales are not a big,
Sure, yeah, I
they're
think
not a
if the
big
planning
fan of.
board requires
Right,
us to
sometimes we have redundant measures.
No, I understand. Especially on the stockpile, you'll silt fence it and put
Oh,
the hay
yeah.
bales in front, just so you get access on that.
Filter fabric in the existing storm drains.
Either,
Explanation is
either
pretty
filter fabric or you can use a silt fence.
graphics.
Because what happens with filter fabric is it binds up on you and you never drain.
So they're taking some off.
They sell drainage bags that you lift the catch basin out and
Because
you
there's
put
gonna
them
be
in and
plenty
they're
that
designed
take out of here.
to allow flow through and catch the sediment. With that, you have to provide us with a plan of how you're gonna maintain that drainage during that thing. Like you're gonna be doing, with a checklist that you're gonna be, and it may be addressed in your SWIP, it may not be addressed in your SWIP, but it's in the construction trailer, you're gonna need a checklist of when you're inspecting those catch basins, on whatever the period of time is, and if you clean them out, because that is I think that's a DEC requirement.
Yep,
a
and so
weekly,
it's, you want a construction maintenance program and you want a post-construction maintenance program.
Yes.
Right.
It's just things to do, the homework beforehand, then after. Okay.
I did also want to just highlight for you guys' information, in our town code, 142-5B discusses the trees as well. So it may be an opportunity for you to look at that yourselves and make some determinations on, along with submitting the information that we requested for. You may be able to speed along the process by seeing what our town code says about that as well.
Great, thank you.
All right, so we're not at the point right now where we can accept the application, because there's some information that we're gonna need. For some of the smaller stuff, you can email it over, and Rose can, get it out to us. For some of the larger stuff, we'll take hard copies, and if you can, send it to her, because I know a few systems crashed this week with this application coming through, so.
Oh, did it? Oh, sorry. We're happy to submit discs too. I mean, we can always give it to you on a disc if that makes
That's
it
all right.
easier.
Electronic is so much easier, but it's just, it's fickle. Yeah, it's if your system can handle it.
All right, so we will pull that information together. We will set up an appointment to meet with the wetlands inspector to get the delineation confirmed and to talk about mitigation. I can't tell you right now, standing here, what our turnaround time will be, but I know that our client is anxious to get it moving, so we will be as expedient as we
All right,
can
so I
be
mean, I'll
with
just
that.
go over the list if you want.
Sure.
The things that I have.
Thank you.
Set up a meeting with Klotzel to flag out. Silt fence details are in the thing, we like a drawing on it. Fueling plans, fueling staging area. Copy of the DEC and DEP approvals. You showed the 100-foot buffer. Investigate for tree permits, or at least give us an inventory of the trees. And if it's less than, there's less than 10,
10 or
I
less.
think you don't need a
It
permit.
depends.
It- we can-
It depends.
it
They should really,
depends.
yeah.
We'll give it to you and then we'll reach an
Right.
agreement on that, or an understanding.
Construction maintenance program, how we're gonna address the catch basins, post-construction, maintenance program,
Soil staging.
the stockpile area,
The equipment staging area.
stockpile and equipment staging areas, and calculations on areas of disturbance and mitigation. I mean, otherwise, I mean, the plan looks, I mean, repaving is maintenance, you're not adding, you're not subtracting, so that's a wash. The area 1 and the area 2, you're doing a little bit of work, we kind of have to give and take.
Right.
mitigate.
So you want us to get a measurement on that, confirm that, a measurement on that,
And then the other two.
these ones over here.
And if any trenching is just in the red areas,
Right,
just in the
no, in the
100-foot
right,
buffer.
Right.
Just in the buffer.
And what about this section right here, just so we're clear and we don't come back
That's
and
just a
mistake it?
repaving, right?
There is some grading going on here at the planning board's request because they wanted us to
Sure, level it out.
eliminate the lumps.
Well, it's
waves.
considered, you're just adding, you're regrading, it's already paved, you're not creating,
is.
you're not creating a new impervious surface.
Same
You're
square footage.
enhancing a already previously. Right.
So, just so we're clear, I mean, these areas, these islands are going on an already existing paved area. I mean, I understand we have to construct them properly so that they're durable. We're not just gonna take them and glue them on, but,
We're going, Jerry, we're going to dig so that we'll have landscaping.
In it.
right,
Yeah, so you
right.
take the
Sure.
pavement out.
Yes, no,
So I
Yeah.
recognize that it's a disturbance.
okay.
There's no lighting in there, neither inside of those in there. It's just the islands.
Yeah, not, that wasn't part of the plan. I mean, we'll look at that, because I know you're interested to know, we have to find the mitigation area. And so we'll have to see how that plays into it.
Again, remember, the Cultec
Yep.
and the water treatment goes for bonus points.
But how do you measure that? I mean,
There's some formula.
capacity is-
Yeah,
okay.
it's the capacity of, on a 100-year storm versus the treatment of the discharge.
okay. So we can,
It's
but we
too-
can consult with the town engineer to determine how you
Yeah.
calculate that, to see what credit we
We've
would
done,
get for that.
we've done Cultec as mitigation, we've also done rain gardens.
Yep.
There are other things, there are other technologies out there that you can use to alleviate the mitigation. You guys decide on what you want to do.
Well, let me ask you this question. Do you look at removal of invasive species as an acceptable form of mitigation? I mean, everything that you've referred to is really a structural.
Removal of
physical item.
Phragmites, I mean, that would be, you'd be disturbing them,
Right, there are a couple of different ways to do it. I've seen it done cutting down, but then you would count that as additional disturbance.
Well, you'd have to, the only way to remove them is you're gonna have to.
Why don't we just stick to the plan?
Okay,
Disturb and.
Just wanna make sure we
Sounds
ask.
That are in there to get the root structure.
Plan.
right. Well, and it doesn't always happen on the first time around. They really get a stronghold, from what I've seen.
Phragmites.
All right, does anybody else have anything else? Anybody have? Okay.
All right, so
All right.
procedurally, we resubmit, and then if we provide you all that information, we probably won't have the DEP approval or the DEC
Now, what we
permit.
can do is you submit the information, you come to the next, whenever you get the information, you schedule with Rose, and you come to the meeting. We will review the information, what I would suggest to you is give us a package for the file, and come with your boards of what you've done to make the changes,
Got it.
show the math, show all work, and then we'll go through it. If we're satisfied with it, we will vote on your application. The application, if it's accepted, then puts you on the clock,
Got
which goes from 30 to 60 days, which allows people to come in and comment. If during that period of time, we have a lot of comments from the neighbors, we'll have to address those, and quite possibly, depending on the types of comments, could result in a public hearing.
Right, that's what I understand your procedure to be.
And if everything goes well within the next couple of weeks, then we can go ahead and we can grant you here's the thing though. We can go ahead and grant you the permit subject to the submission of the DEP-DEC. But your clock, that's when, then I just gotta figure, so I guess we could leave the no, we could grant the permit subject to those conditions, and then once we get that information from you, then what we'll do is, I'll see it, she'll email it to us, we could say, okay, now the clock starts. Because the permit's good for a year.
Right,
And it's
right.
renewable every year, and then depending on situation, sometimes we go a little longer, depending on what's going on.
Okay,
All right, so that's it in a nutshell. It's not very complicated.
Do you have any other questions?
Microphone.
No, this is for my team, I just want to make sure I understand. So we resubmit within the next couple of weeks. We appear, because,
We'll come back here, we'll show you the changes. You'll see if you can check off everything that was missing that you wanted us to provide, and if so, that it would be deemed complete, and you'd be able to send out the notice for the public comment.
Correct.
You wait 30 days, if there isn't.
It's 30, if you read the code, it's 30 to
45.
45 days, depending on, what happens. And then at that end, we then close when we vote on whether or not to grant or deny the permit.
Well, you decide after the public comment period whether to have a public hearing,
Right.
I believe, right? And then at the conclusion of if there is a public hearing, then.
Then we vote.
Concluded, you vote.
Right.
And if you don't see a need for a public hearing, you're at that point, you can vote, as long as you've given the public comment period.
Correct.
okay, all right, so you
So
understand, okay.
we're good.
Although, once again, just to clarify, the clock won't start until the DEC and DEP permits are submitted.
No, the permit will not be granted. The permit will be approved to be granted, but it will not start until we receive the DEP and DEC approval. After they meet,
The
after
permit,
they
okay,
meet everything.
But I just want to, because it was a little clear, but the process can move forward.
The process can move forward, because we've done that before on
Right.
other
No, no, I-
projects. We just leave it open-ended
Yes.
until the two pieces of the puzzles are submitted. I mean, unfortunately, this area over here, you get hit with both the DEC and the DEP permit, but that's the roll of the dice.
Sometimes you have AOC as well.
What?
Sometimes you have Army Corps as
Yeah,
well.
sometimes it's Army Corps.
That we don't believe is gonna be.
No.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Q.
Thank you very much.
See you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is meeting minutes for January 21st, 2016. I believe everybody on the board was here for that meeting. No, except, no, yeah, you were here. You were not,
It was January 1.
21st.
This is our last meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's here.
Everyone's here. So do I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes for 1/21/16?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes approved.
I hope you guys read it.
And that's it. Do I have a motion to, Mr. Mark would like to mention something? Go ahead, Mark.
I would, thank Bob. Gentlemen, I would like to take the opportunity to invite you and the public to a special event that's coming up on February 17th. It's a Wednesday night. It'll be taking place at Mapac High School in a unique partnership between the Mapac Schools and the Putnam Arts Council, both of whose boards I sit on in addition to this. We are going to be presenting a Grammy Award-winning Cuban jazz artist named Oriento Lopez and his quintet at the high school on Wednesday, February 17th at 7 p.m. And what's going to make the evening even more fun is that students from the Mayapac School's music program are going to be joining Senor Lopez and his group on stage that night.
That's great.
So I would like to invite you guys to join us and everybody out in the public. We think it's going to be a wonderful night, a special night.
Well, good. Good luck. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you very much. Have a good
Thank you.
Take care.
Do I have a motion to close the meeting? Do
Motion.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.